Step into the realm of the unknown, where mysteries remain unsolved and true crime reveals chilling truths. Today, we unravel a tale of unanswered questions, hidden motives, and the search for justice. Each detail pulls us deeper into the enigma. Prepare for a journey into the shadows of reality. Let's dive into the story. On September 17, 2017, the Philippines was shaken by a tragedy that would forever change the lives of one family and ignite a national conversation about the dark reality of hazing in fraternities. The story of Horacio Castillo III, a 22-year-old law student at the University of Santo Tomas, UST, is a painful reminder of how tradition and misguided brotherhood can lead to fatal consequences. What was meant to be a rite of passage turned into an unspeakable tragedy, as Atio's promising life was cut short during a brutal hazing ritual. Atio was not just another student. He was a young man with dreams of becoming a lawyer, a son to loving parents, and a friend to many. His death, and the subsequent fight for justice by his family, would bring to light the horrors of hazing rituals, the secrecy of fraternities, and the legal loopholes that allowed such abuse to continue unchecked. Horacio Castillo III, affectionately known as Atio, was born on May 26, 1995, into a family that valued education and hard work. He was a bright young man, driven by his desire to become a lawyer, following in the footsteps of his father, Horacio Castillo Jr., a prominent figure in the legal profession. Atio enrolled at the University of Santo Tomas, one of the oldest and most respected universities in the Philippines, where he joined the Aegis Juris Fraternity, a decision that would tragically alter his future. Atio's decision to join a fraternity was not unusual for many students. Fraternities, especially in prestigious schools, are seen as a means of building camaraderie, gaining connections, and creating lasting bonds. For Atio, it was also an opportunity to be part of something bigger, to find a sense of belonging in a new and challenging environment. He was known to be a hard-working and kind-hearted individual, loved by his family and friends. His parents described him as a thoughtful and caring son, someone who was always ready to help others. But, like many young people, Atio was unaware of the dangerous and often violent traditions that many fraternities, including the Aegis Juris, held onto. He was eager to be part of the fraternity's brotherhood, but little did he know that this decision would lead him down a tragic path. The events that led to Atio's death began on the night of September 16, 2017, when he attended what was supposed to be a welcoming ceremony for new members of the Aegis Juris Fraternity. This was not a simple initiation. It was a violent hazing ritual that involved physical abuse, designed to test the strength, endurance, and loyalty of the pledges. Atio, along with other new members, was subjected to brutal beatings, which included being hit repeatedly with a wooden paddle, an act that caused severe trauma to his body. The fraternity members reportedly instructed the pledges to endure the pain and never to show weakness. Atio, despite the extreme pain, complied, hoping to prove his worth to his new brothers. However, the hazing went too far. The violence inflicted upon Atio caused internal bleeding and severe injuries that ultimately led to his death. Rather than seeking immediate medical help, members of the fraternity allegedly tried to cover up the incident. Atio was rushed to the Chinese General Hospital but was reportedly abandoned there by the fraternity members. His body was left in the hospital, and it wasn't until hours later that Atio's parents were notified about his condition. By then, it was too late. The Castillo family's nightmare began when Atio's parents received a call from the hospital, informing them that their son had been brought in. But the details were unclear. When they arrived, they were horrified to discover that their son was already dead. The cause of death, they later learned, was a combination of physical trauma from the hazing and the negligence of the fraternity members. Atio's parents, devastated by the loss of their son, were further horrified by the revelation that their son had been the victim of a brutal hazing ritual. His parents, Horacio Jr. and Carmina, immediately sought justice for Atio. They filed a formal complaint against the Aegis Juris Fraternity, calling for accountability and the prosecution of those responsible for their son's death. The death of Horacio Castillo III quickly became a national issue. The Castillo family's fight for justice was met with widespread public outrage, but it also revealed the deep-rooted problems within fraternity culture. Fraternities, especially those at prestigious universities, had long been associated with hazing rituals that were kept secret, with little regard for the lives of the individuals involved. Atio's case brought the practice of hazing to the forefront of public discourse. In the aftermath of his death, there were calls for stricter enforcement of the Anti-Hazing Law of 1995, a law that was meant to prevent such tragedies. However, the law had proven to be insufficient in deterring the practice, as many fraternity members had simply found ways to bypass it. The Castillo family, determined to hold those responsible accountable, pursued a legal battle that would take years. The investigation revealed the shocking extent of the cover-up and the involvement of several prominent figures in the fraternity. The police uncovered evidence that fraternity members had tried to destroy evidence, including deleting messages and tampering with medical records. In the end, several members of the Aegis Juris Fraternity were charged with hazing, and the case went to trial. However, the legal proceedings were slow, and justice for Atio was delayed. Despite the efforts of the Castillo family, the battle for justice continued to drag on. The tragic death of Atio Castillo ignited a nationwide conversation about the dangers of hazing, and many began to question the culture of secrecy and violence that fraternities upheld. Atio's case highlighted the need for stronger enforcement of anti-hazing laws, and it spurred the government to amend the Anti-Hazing Law in 2018. The amendments included harsher penalties for those found guilty of hazing, including life imprisonment in cases where death occurs as a result of the ritual. Atio's parents, Horacio Jr. and Carmina, continued to advocate for the victims of hazing and worked tirelessly to ensure that their son's death would not be in vain. They traveled across the country, speaking out against hazing and calling for an end to the practice. Their efforts led to the passage of stronger laws and greater awareness about the dangers of fraternity hazing. Horacio Atio Castillo III's death was a senseless tragedy that could have been prevented. He was a bright, promising young man who had his whole life ahead of him, but his life was stolen away by a violent and archaic tradition. Atio's story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of hazing and the importance of standing up against abuse and violence. As we reflect on Atio's life, we remember the bright future that was lost too soon. His family's unwavering pursuit of justice has sparked a movement for change, one that will hopefully prevent future tragedies. Atio's legacy lives on, not only in the hearts of his loved ones but also in the changes made to the laws that protect others from suffering the same fate. May his story serve as a catalyst for continued reform, and may we never forget the life of a young man who deserves so much more. Thank you for joining us on this journey through unsolved mysteries, true crime, and tragic real-life events. These stories remind us of the fragility of life and the importance of seeking truth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.